Well, welcome you to our night tonight. This is kind of like a little dream come true for some of us. We've been kind of keeping something like this around for a while. And Ross has been gracious enough to, I kind of threw it at him and he said, let's go with it and make it happen. So we've got a great program. First, I want to say thank you to an individual who's a member of our Rotary Club, who is the president of this wonderful bank. You'll have Mr. Rubb, you'll just give us a little thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you for being here.
That's good. You're crowded out, buddy.
No. Please, go ahead. Let's go ahead with the program. Everybody's here and excited to hear the program, and including me.
Well, we talked about a location to have this, and we figured this room would be just perfect for it because it does have Wi-Fi big enough. And on behalf of Bobby and the bank members who are here, we thank you very much for that privilege and everything. Ross is going to give us a rendition of what social media is all about, how it affects us. So, ladies and gentlemen, no further ado, Rotarian Ross Jaynes.
Good evening. Everybody can connect to Wi-Fi okay? Everybody's got access, should be rolling well? Yay, nay, no? Yeah, the boardroom is the one that I connected to because it's the open one. I don't know the password for the other one, otherwise I could help you with that. Couldn't tell you. No password on boardroom. No password on boardroom. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here this evening. Again, special thanks to Ben for having it, and the pizza and the drinks and everything else. It was all wonderful. Social media is a tricky animal because it can either bring you some of the best business of your life or some of the worst meltdown you could ever imagine. It's one of those things that can go one way or the other. Social media is great for not only sharing personal information or pictures or vacation photos, pictures of our kids, that kind of thing, but also business updates. What if you're having a sale? What if you've got something special going on? Social media is one of those great ways to get that information out there. It's also great for businesses large and small. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. That's not right now. Another very important part of this is you always should have a profile on whatever these sites are, regardless of if you use it or not. And the reason is because do not let someone else define your online presence for you. Okay? That's one of the major takeaways from this thing tonight. Do not let somebody else define what your presence online is. So if you don't have a Facebook account, go get a Facebook account, put a photo up of yourself, and leave it there. Because that way no one else can do it for you. That's kind of the idea here. Own your own space. All right, so social media refers to the means of interactions among people in which they can create is italicized for a reason, create, share, and exchange information and ideas in virtual communities and networks. Social media is essential for small businesses and individuals. Small businesses especially because you can interact with the customer in a way that a large corporation cannot. For small businesses, it's very easy. Somebody has a question, you can respond to them right away because you are a small business owner. You can make that happen very quickly. Whereas with a large corporation, they may have to check with 2 or 3 or 4 different people to get you the answer that you want. Again, as a small business owner, it gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can do with it. All right, so social media is networked, being interconnected, marketing, advertising, public relations, and media, okay? So let's break down each one of these terms because they're all very important, okay? Marketing is communicating the value of a product or service, okay? Communicating the value of that product and service. Advertising is a function of marketing. It is actually underneath the marketing heading that it's an area of marketing used to persuade and encourage your customers. So you're either persuading, manipulating, or encouraging them to do something, to buy something, to be involved in something, to try something. The public relations part of it is to manage the spread of information. So good information or bad information. Depends on which one you're playing with, right? And then of course media is only the means and method of communication. It kind of irks me sometimes when people say, I'm mad at the media. It's like, no, you're mad at the newspaper writers. You're not mad at the vehicle. You don't get mad at the car for, something that somebody else says. Media is only the engine that runs it, okay? All right. So, social media is your way to create a personal brand, all right? Now, personal branding works pretty much the same way that you brand for, say, a business, except that you're branding it's a process whereby people and their careers are marked as brands. All right? This is actually a new idea that's come across in marketing the last couple of years. It's one of those things where, I am a member of Columbia Power and Water Systems. That's where my 9 to 5 is. I work for Columbia Power and Water Systems. I do Channel 13, but I also have other things that I do. In an increased age of specialization, we all have to get new skills and that kind of thing, which is what we're doing here tonight. So I have a personal brand, which we'll be talking about here in just a few minutes, because a lot of this presentation involves 2 key areas. I used a bunch of my profiles for this, and then the profiles from Maury County Now, which are on your table right there. If you want to check out any of the resources that are here tonight, we'll go over that as we're going through. All right. So to create a successful personal brand, you must create value for your brand by creating content. This is really kind of the crux of the presentation. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about it at the very end. Okay? So when you're talking about creating value, okay, you're doing it through creating content. Now, how do you create content? That's the question. What is content creation? Well, you're already doing it now, you just don't know it, all right? So pictures, posts, videos, blogs, podcasts, whatever you can think up is creating content. Every time you post a picture, you are a content creator. Every time you make a new post or a status update, you are a content creator, right? The trick is, what do you want to show the world? Through your business, through your personal life. All of these things are important. They have to be informative, timely, and valuable for it to be considered really great content creation. All right, any questions? Cool. So, the very first one, of course, is Facebook. Everybody has a Facebook account, I would assume. The next one would be Twitter, LinkedIn, and WordPress. We're going to cover each one of these in some sort of detail this evening. All right. How many have a Facebook page? Everybody raise your hand. Twitter account? Okay. LinkedIn? And who knows what WordPress is in this room by any chance? Just a few. That's awesome. Cool. We'll learn some stuff tonight. All right. So we're going to start off, of course, with Facebook. All right. There's 2 different types of profiles or accounts on Facebook. There is your personal account where you sign in as Joe Smith, and you operate that where you put up your personal pictures and you talk about personal stuff and that kind of thing. Okay. The other side of that is our business pages. Okay. So personal accounts are just that. They're personal. You have to add people to as friends, that sort of thing. Pages are for businesses or everything else. So musical artists, whatever else qualifies under this, it counts under this pages tab. Now you can have a business that has a personal page and a business page, but it gets very confusing and things get way haywire at that point. So let's not go down that road. Let's just talk about the personal account and the pages account, okay? All right, so your personal account can feed your page. We're going to talk about page creation here in a minute, okay? But one of the things that we need to get across is invite your friends to like your page if and when it's completed. Nobody wants to be invited to a half-completed page. It's kind of like back in the old days, when you go to the internet website and be like, coming soon, and then 3 years later, it's still coming soon, and nobody knows what it is or where it's going, that kind of thing. Make sure that it's completed and relevant, right? Okay, before you invite your friends. That's just a common courtesy. So here's my personal page. That's what it looks like. Of course, I got my feed down here and everything that's up here and personal picture across the top. We're going to talk about Maury County Now tonight. This is the Maury County Now page. The page interface at the very top looks completely different on a business page than it does from a personal page. For instance, up here are the posts and the reach, messages we've been sent, friends to invite, insights, new likes, and then everything else down below that functions just like a regular page. Any questions?
This is advertising paid for, right? The bottom part.
Talk about that here in a minute. This right here is a header. It is like 916 by 350 something or whatever is the dimensions for it. You can put this up however you want to. This is completely designed by you. You can do whatever you want to with it. All right, so how do you create a page? All right, so first, you're looking at the giant Facebook screen, on screen. You go to the arrow up in the upper right-hand corner where you normally go to log out and just go to the very bottom and go to create page. After that, you just follow the instructions. It's very simple. That's it. You just complete the information that's in there and go about your business. All right. So once you get all that done and you start to get a following, people start to like your page, start sharing it with your friends, everything's ready to go, you're rocking along, you can actually purchase ads for your page or your posts, depending on how you wanted to go with it, through the Advertise on Facebook function. So down here, when you're looking at a post, right, this is a post right here, right? When you're looking at a post, there's a little button down here that says Boost Post, right? Click that button. Okay, so you can choose the audience, you can choose the budget and see how many people it's going to reach, all right? So for this one, we chose people who like your page and their friends at a maximum budget of $15. One of the advantages of this is, most of the time when you do an advertising buy, you're spending hundreds of dollars. With this sort of managing your advertising, it actually ends up being very cheap because you can reach 2,400 to 4,400 people out of a potential audience of 280,000. Now that's just this potential audience for this particular page, but the same rules still apply. These numbers don't change very often. This is the one that changes, right? So there's also a targeted way you can do it too. Let's say that you know that females between the age of 18 and 35 are the ones that buy your product, okay? So let me just start using this because this will be easier. You got the location tab. You can actually sort by zip code or city, state, age, of course, male, female, gender, and language. So you can pick where you want it to go and who you want it to be targeted to see what's working and what's not. All right, mobile. Now this is a big one because I saw a lot of people in here tonight that have phones and tablets, correct? Mobile is one of the fastest growing marketplaces today, and every single one of the things we're going to talk about tonight have a mobile component to it, all right? So you can access Facebook from your phone. You can access Twitter, LinkedIn, and WordPress all from your phone or tablet, all right? It is very important because the world is going more mobile to understand and appreciate exactly what it is. I personally am a fan of the laptop or the computer. I enjoy it more, I can do more, that kind of thing. That doesn't matter though, because people are going this way. You gotta know that and recognize it in advance, all right? So, for your pages, you can actually manage your pages on your phone, tablet, device. Pages Manager for Facebook. It's available for both iPhone and Android. I do not know about Windows Phone. If you happen to have one, I cannot tell you anything about that platform. But this allows you to control and access your page from your smartphone. So you can update a photo from there. You can respond to a message somebody sent you from there. They are available in the App Store. This is the iTunes one, which says Facebook Pages Manager, that one. And then here is the Android version and Facebook Pages Manager. Works exactly the same way. Cool? Any questions about Facebook? Yes?
Let's go back to Facebook ads just for a second.
Sure.
And let's just take an example.
Okay.
For example, the Sunset Symphony Facebook.
Right.
I'm on that site right now. We have 86 likes. And it's kind of bumping up a little bit, but we're 2 or 3 weeks out from the actual event. If we were to go and buy a Facebook ad for a budget of $50, $100, pick a number.
Right.
And we do a little Sunset Symphony.
I can tell you.
What's gonna happen?
Okay. With about 75 bucks, the chances are, if you target it right, you're going to reach somewhere about 20,000 people, which is about right. That's not bad. The trick is, though, you remember when I was talking about content creation and it being informative, timely, and valuable? It has to meet all 3 of those criteria. So it's not necessarily the event that's important, it's what you pair the event with in that post. So let's say you've got a photo from behind the scenes. This is what we're going to have at Sunset Symphony with a very interesting photo, that kind of thing. That will be a post you promote. Okay?
And what would be a expectation? Would it double our likes?
It's very possible.
It would reach 20,000 people that we're not reaching today.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
So would it make sense for the Rotary to invest $100 into a Facebook ad on that?
I would have already done it. I would have already done it. But that's just me.
So we might
you
make
know.
a note of that.
Thursday morning meeting.
Okay.
And then you should also tell everyone in here to like the Sunset Symphony Facebook page. Go do that now if you haven't already done it. Just type in Sunset Symphony into the search bar up there, and I'm pretty sure it comes up, right? Under Sunset Symphony?
And it's been creeping up.
Yeah, yeah. And we've been sharing, I know Thomas and I specifically have shared it on Facebook a couple times.
Yeah.
But I can't really say anything. I don't know about anybody else.
On the website, there's no link to Facebook.
No, there is not. But that's another thing we're going to cover here in just hang on.
That's a good point. Should be.
Any other questions about Facebook before we move on? Cool. Twitter. This is probably the shortest section in here. I cannot necessarily say that I'm a giant fan of Twitter, simply because of the 140 character rule down here, known as tweets, right? So you can send and receive messages, pictures, video through Twitter, but in terms of actual physical words or letters, it can only be 140 characters. So it's a little limiting, but you also have to be extra creative if you want to make something that's interesting, informative, timely. So personal accounts are separate from business accounts, meaning that you cannot access one account from the other. You have to have two separate accounts. If Ross Jaynes wants to have an account, Ross Jaynes has an account. If Murray County Now needs to have an account, they need to have its own account, right? So we're talking about Twitter lingo. The @ symbol is used to communicate publicly with another person. So let's say you tweet @Ross Jaynes, that tweet's going to come to me, okay? And everybody can see it, all right? So an example of that would be right here, where this person asked what time Murray County Now came on. Posted that up publicly, not a problem. Now you can send direct messages as well, but you can only send a direct message to someone that is following you. You are following. You can only send a direct message to someone that you are following. If they're following you, they can't send you a message. That's just the way that it works. Hashtag, right? Now, this gets confusing because hashtags are also available on Facebook now as well. These two are they function the same way, but they don't work the same way in that it's metadata, right? So if you type in or search hashtag whatever on Twitter, you're going to get whatever Twitter hashtag that follows. Okay? You can do the same thing on Facebook, but it only applies to Facebook. They're the same idea, but they work on two separate networks. But you could hashtag Murray County Now, and it'll allow you to see every single time that someone has mentioned Murray County Now in terms of that hashtag. So it's a kind of a way to follow a topic or a group of topics that way. Makes it a little bit easier. All right, so here's an example the day that I made this. These were the things being followed. I don't know what any of these things are. But if I wanted to, I could click on them and find out. That's the idea of the hashtag. Okay? All right. So Twitter, again, here's my personal Twitter page. Got photos and tweets and all that kind of going on. And then here's the Murray County Now one. We've got photos and all that, and then tweets going on, right? Okay, so Vine is actually, yeah, what's up?
Well, I was just going to say a good local thing for everyone to try is the hashtag or the # at Mule Day. And you'll see where everybody in and around Columbia
Did not know that.
has tagged something with Mule Day.
Well, it'll be extra interesting this year because we didn't have the hashtag for Facebook until like 2 months ago. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens on Facebook. Like I said, I really don't keep up with Twitter. I let stuff cross-post to Twitter. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes, but I don't really keep up with it. It does the work for me. I don't have to do anything. So that's pretty much it. But that's very cool. I didn't know that. Vine is a new project from Twitter. Okay? It allows for 6-second loopable videos. All right? This comes back into the content creation bubble right here. Okay? So I didn't embed any in here. I didn't know if I was going to have sound or not. If I would have put sound with it. It'd been cool. But you can go to Vine through the Twitter app on your phone. You can actually check out Vine from Twitter on the web. You cannot go to Vine directly, though, because it is a subset of Twitter. So you either have to access it through the app or through external links and embeds. So it's not something that I can show you right now. I could show you later, but not at the moment. It is very interesting. It's brought out some really cool creative stuff that you can do with it because you got to think 6-second and loopable. 6 seconds, one thing, but a loopable video, there's some really creative stuff out there if you want to take a look at it. It's very cool, very cool. But this is just a new project from Twitter. It came out a couple months ago. So that's some new stuff. So, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a social networking website for people in professional occupations. Now, this is one that probably hits home for just everybody in here. How many people have a LinkedIn page again? So, not everyone. Interesting. Cool. All right. So, it works differently than Facebook. Okay? It works completely differently than Facebook in terms that this is a lot of text, and I'm going to summarize all this for you. I didn't know how big of a screen I was going to have. You can be friends with someone on LinkedIn, okay? But there's also things called second and third degree connections, okay? So let's say that Jimmy and I are friends, okay, on LinkedIn. Jimmy knows someone that I would like to contact, okay? He's a friend of Jimmy's, but he is not my friend, that sort of thing. That would be a second degree contact. Third degree contact works the same way. It would be myself and then Jimmy and then the second degree contact and then the third degree contact. So you can actually contact CEOs of companies in this thing this way. If there's a certain person that you're trying to reach, that sort of thing, very easy to work your way up the business ladder. There's a lot of things you can do with it. People generally assume that it's something that you use when you're looking for a new job, and while it is great for that, if you happen to be looking for a new job, it allows you to show off your work. Like I said, you can contact other business professionals that you maybe want to talk to or would like to talk to, that kind of thing. And it's basically just a professional Facebook. That's the best way to describe it. Here's just some of the things you can do for it. Employers can actually list jobs on there. Job seekers can review profile of hiring managers and that kind of thing, discover what they want to look for in a company or vice versa. Users can post their own photos and view others for identification. For instance, one of the marketing podcasts that I listen to all the time, they were actually talking about a conference that they had like the QR codes on their badges or whatever, and what they linked them to was actually their LinkedIn account. So you could scan someone's badge and verify that it was them from their LinkedIn account. You had to have a LinkedIn account for this conference. It's very interesting, very, very unique concept. Also allows you to follow different companies and get notifications, and users can save jobs that they would like to apply for in the future, which is actually kind of interesting. So again, we're gonna go through LinkedIn, kind of the same way with the profile. This is the top of the profile. Got my current title, where I'm at, buttons, that sort of thing, people you may know, people you viewed, profile strength, and then activity. It's got an activity feed, very much the same way that Facebook works. So you can post updates and that sort of thing as you go along.
I'll go back.
Sure.
This buckets thing right here.
Yeah.
Did you put that in yourself?
Yes.
Or did they feed it to you?
Actually, I cross-posted that, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Okay.
I didn't directly put this in, where it says Ross Jaynes via WordPress.com. That right there, that's where my WordPress site posted to my LinkedIn so that I didn't have to go physically do it. It did it for me. But we'll get there, don't worry. Background is an overview of yourself, business skills, talent, and current links. So of course I've got up here a giant summary and a couple of the projects that I'm working on. Very simple. It is important that you fill this out because people can see this profile strength button, right? Now, once you fill it out all the way the first time, you don't have to go do it again, thankfully, unless you want to stay current and updated and that kind of thing. Once you fill it out once, though, this stays exactly where it is. Experience, get to show off past, current jobs, that sort of thing. Very simple. So if someone wants to get a recommendation for you or that kind of thing, they can check out what's going on there. You can also list the projects, like I said, volunteer experience, and honors and awards, which is kind of cool, so people can get a better background of your business acumen and that sort of thing. Skills and expertise. Now this one's actually kind of cool because people can endorse you for the skills that they think you qualify for. So of course, I do video on a day-to-day basis, ergo video production is ranked up there at the top, as it probably should. At least it's not eating macaroni and cheese or something, I guess. But there's other stuff on there too, and then there's some stuff down here that nobody, or not really anyone, has done for, because either they're up here or it just gets lost in the mix and people don't endorse you for it. Regardless, either way, you get a good feel of what that person's strong in and who endorses them. You can actually click on the little video production tab and then go through and see who's endorsed this person for these skills, which is actually quite interesting. Another feature of it is you can list your education and additional info, anything else you'd like to know. For instance, I've got contact information down here and my birthday. So I mean, that's just, it's stuff that's there. Of course, education info at the top. Go through it like that. Recommendations is also a really cool feature about it too, because you can actually see who's recommended you for your job. For instance, Jonathan Hickson over there, we've worked quite often together. He has recommended me on LinkedIn, which I appreciate very much. So you can get a better feel for how this person works with others and that kind of thing. It gives it a good profile, fleshes out the business person. Years ago, apparently. WordPress, all right? WordPress is an interesting animal in that it is a blogging tool, but it is also a website. When I design a site for someone and they ask me, like, well, do I have a blog or do I have a website? My answer is always yes, because technically you have both. And that's great because of the way that content creation works, okay? It started out as just a blogging tool, but now it's got a plugin system and a really cool template file system and all kinds of stuff we're gonna go through here in a minute. You can literally create a site out of almost nothing now. It's very awesome. WordPress, we already went over that. Okay, there's two different types of WordPress, okay? There is the WordPress.com version and the WordPress.org version, all right? The .com version is hosted by WordPress. Your blog is physically, or website is physically kept on the WordPress servers, okay? It's Customizable up to a point. You can do a lot of stuff with it. There's some stuff you just can't do with it, though, because of the limitations of the WordPress. It is great if you want to start out with no money. It is awesome. You can start out right now, today, sign up for a WordPress.com account, start a blog/site, and you're ready to go. You don't have to do anything else for it. The WordPress.org site is another thing altogether. It actually is, you can download the entire WordPress, it's not operating system, I guess it's just platform, and put it on your hosted server and run WordPress off of there, and you get the full amount of customization that goes along with it. You can do whatever you want to it. It's pretty cool. Moving on, of course, this is my website. I have mine hosted through WordPress.com because I don't want to have to pay for hosting. I don't want to have to deal with it. It's just a recurring cost that I can't justify because I only post videos that I post to YouTube or pictures that I can upload to it, that kind of thing. Talk about the templates or the plugin system right here. There's my Twitter feed, which is kind of cool. So on this WordPress.com site, you have a header. You've got the navigation that moves around. You have the posts over here that you can put up. And then you have the that work on either the left or right hand or bottom or top of the screen, however you end up working it. So you can have, for instance, your Facebook friends right here. Or you can have a search button where people can search your posts and see what's there. If they're looking for old content, if they're looking for different content, if Google just happens to send you there, well, you can search from right there. You can also have people subscribe to your site. So they get an email every time you post something new, which is kind of a cool feature. Again, there's the Facebook. There's a bunch of other plugins that you can use for it. I think there's a Picasa one and a couple of Flickr maybe. There's a couple other ones that work out really well for pictures and other stuff altogether. It just depends on what you're using it for. So, posts versus pages in terms of WordPress, okay? A post acts more like a blog, right? It's intended to be updated on a regular basis. Your post page, this page right here, is intended to be updated. Now, you can set your WordPress, one of these WordPress pages up here, to be your home page. Okay? You can have it go to a static home page where you get all the information right there off the bat. But if you're like me and you do content creation all the time, this is actually the better option because there's always something new on the front, right? Kind of like a news site almost. It's basically just like that. The pages, however, work more like standardized web pages in the information doesn't change all that often. They work the same way in that they have the same interface, they have the same back end, but they function differently in terms of updating them, okay? So the themes, you can pick out different themes. Background, this is the current background I've used for my website. Here's the other ones that are available. Some of them are free, some are paid for. Just depends on which one you want to use. Here's the plugins. So you got all these plugins that you can choose from and line up in this side. They all do different stuff. I was hoping that was going to be bigger. It didn't work out that way. I can't see it. But there's author grid, band pages. I can see those pages that I follow, contact information, your Gravatar profile, other pages, appropriate links, tag cloud. We're not talking about tags all tonight, but tags are a whole other story. There's all kinds of things that you can do with it that are very interesting. With a WordPress.com free account, you can also own your own domain. So let's say you wanted to be xyz.com, right? You can actually go buy xyz.com and attach it to this WordPress domain. So it functions just like a regular website, right? So there's an example, .com, .net, .org, .tv, whatever you can come up with that's available, you can associate it. You can map that domain, like I said, to that actual WordPress site, which is really, really good for search engine optimization. That's another topic we're not going to cover anywhere near tonight. But it's a whole other thing. Basically, it's when someone types in your name, you're the first one that comes up. That's what you want. That's the goal of search engine optimization. Or anything that related to you, any product you sell, that sort of thing. You want to be number one in terms of Google, Bing, Yahoo, wherever people go to search. So again, here's owning your own domain. We're going to go back. This is where you put it in. There's a store page there or whatever. It's $13 a year. So really, for the domain cost, it's like $12 a year. And then for the mapping cost, it's like $13 a year. So for under $30, you can run your own website. And that's a year. That's a year, which is pretty cool. So again, mobile. Back to mobile, all right? WordPress has an excellent mobile component that comes along with it. Here is my site mobile, here is Murray County Now mobile. It works out great. You just type it in, it comes up in your phone just like that. You can filter through it, sort it. It's a great way to use your site for mobile because most sites are not optimized for mobile. How many have been to like a site that is not optimized for mobile and just been incredibly horrified at their experience? That's nobody in here. Yeah, there's a couple. But this actually makes your site better for mobile. I haven't found one, a pre-made platform that makes it any better for mobile at least. Connectivity. Back to Jimmy's question earlier. You can set it up to where these accounts cross-post to each other. So you only have to post one place, and the rest of the work's already done for you. Makes it very easy. So I have WordPress set up to send to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So whenever I post to my WordPress, it automatically sends it out to those services. I have Facebook set up to send to Twitter. I have LinkedIn set up to send to Twitter. So I don't have to manage Twitter at all. These services do it for me. I don't have to think about Twitter at all. They handle it. Now you can set up Twitter to post to Facebook, I believe. You cannot set Twitter to post up to LinkedIn though. LinkedIn can only post out, nothing can post in except for WordPress. So it's a giant circle that it makes sometimes. But WordPress being the overall writing platform that makes that connectivity happen. Potentially if you make one mistake on one of them, like for instance if you botch the WordPress, you're going to make a mistake on all of them. So it's very important to be very careful in what it is that you post, generally. You know, it's just a good idea to make sure that you're posting the correct thing. So here's the sharing settings in terms of WordPress. You can go with Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Tumblr. There's also other sharing services down here. Dig, I think you can post to Reddit, you know, other places that are in there or whatever. But these, of course, are the big four. We're not going to talk about Tumblr tonight at all because it's a whole different animal altogether. Okay, so now that you have all this information, what are you going to do with it, right? Okay, so we're going to go back to social media being marketing, advertising, media. I left out public relations off this slide. But it's also public relations as well. I apologize, that's my fault. So the marketing end of it, you want to tell people about your product and service. The advertising end of it, you want to tell these people in such a way that it makes them interested. You want them to act on this product or service. The public relations side of it is you want to be the only one talking about this product and service the way that you are talking about it. And the media end of it, this all being the engine, right? So let's go back to a way to create a personal brand, right? In doing these things and creating this content, you create this personal brand by creating value through informative, timely, and valuable pictures, posts, videos, blogs, podcasts, whatever. This can be whatever you want it to be. In fact, there's stuff that hasn't even been invented yet that falls under this category, okay? This is almost future-proofing yourself. If you know that you can create good photos, do that. If you know that you can write interesting article for your blog, do that. If you can make cool videos just sitting at home, do that. If you know anything about podcasting, you better hop on this right now because I think iTunes just passed 50 billion this week in terms of people who listen to podcasts. It's pretty big. Or overall podcast subscription. It's crazy like how many podcasts are actually physically out there. It's insane. Of course, these four things are the easiest way to do it. Things we didn't cover tonight. We did not talk about social media snafus and how to avoid a social media meltdown. Did anybody catch back in middle of May Amy's Catering and Bakery in Arizona after their Kitchen Nightmares appearance? That is a classic example of a social media meltdown. It literally made headline news. It was hilarious and sad all at the same time. We did not cover Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, MySpace, Google+, YouTube, Clout, 1,000 other different social networks that exist out there simply because it's not that they don't work for this. It's just that a lot of these things can already be covered somewhere else better. Or how to create engaging digital content through pictures, videos, and other digital means. There's my contact information. Does anyone have any questions? I'll answer any question you have.
Have you ever heard of
Tout?
Tout?
Not tout, no.
Okay,
No.
It's like a 15-second video content.
Instagram is now doing 6 and 15, I think, which is very interesting. And you can actually put the filters on the video, which makes it kind of cool. So
Go back to the very beginning. Tell us what is to the left of .com and what's to the right of .com, and go back to the beginning part of, you know, you can have Jimmy Duggar on his side. You can have com and net and org.
oh, okay, yeah, back there in the WordPress section. Talk about domains. Okay, if you're going to purchase a domain, go to namecheap.com. The .com, .net, .org, there's a couple in there, a couple others in there. I think it's like $10.99 a year, and with tax and everything, ends up being like 12 something. I have a .tv address. I'm probably going to let it expire this year because it's like 25 bucks a year, and I just don't see the need for it anymore. .com's much easier to remember. But you can purchase however many of these that you want and have them all go to the same place, just so that you can buy up the market. That's usually the best thing to do. If you're afraid that somebody else is going to take your domain or potentially try to capitalize on your brand or image or whatever else, then just buy them all. Because, I mean, it's not really that expensive to buy .com, .net, .org, that sort of thing, and flux it out.
What's the name of that? Names?
Namecheap.com. NAMECHEAP.com. Any other questions?
How many hours a week does it take to do that? That sounds to me like it's more hours than I got.
Well, here's the thing though. If you have the ability to cross-post, it actually takes that time out because you don't have to worry about doing it on all those services. Now, if you want to check all those services and you want to see what everybody's doing on every single one, good luck, because I can't do that. But if you know that you're going to be running a special, let's say at the mattress store, and you talk about it on WordPress, you can automatically have it posted to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And along with that, if you put it on the Facebook page instead of your personal account, then you can buy an ad for that, direct people back to the website, and get the deal there. Which would be the ideal way to go with that.
So in Rick's situation, there's got to be your vendors that sell you your mattresses. Do they give you stuff like this that all you have to do is localize it to you, or do you know that yet?
If there's an ad coming up like for Labor Day, we're going to give away a box spring with an optimum set, and those are already managed. You just go to their website, pull it off of there, and post it here.
Yep. With a big old title tag saying, win a free mattress. That sort of thing. I mean, make it big. Now, one of the tricks is, with the posts, buying an advertising post, I didn't tell you guys this, but in the picture that you're going to post up, if it has more than 20% text in that Facebook ad, they will reject it. It has to be less than 20% text. That's why it has to be a really good picture. Because I get denied all the time. I at least try it. I'm like, let's add some more text, and it won't let me. So it just depends on what it is you're shooting for. But when a free matches across the top, it'd be perfect.
Well, this right here is very, very important because in my situation, I'm on 40 different websites plus, and so, but I can't manage all that. So I will manage one. My team only manages one, and that they manage it itself.
That right there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. I mean, realistically, you can get by on a couple hours a week if you stay on task and make sure you get the job done that you want to get done. Now, it gets really hairy when you start looking at the analytics, when you start trying to analyze the data and that kind of thing, because WordPress gives you all the data you could ever want. It will give you search terms, what people are searching for, how they're finding it, what ones they're clicking on after they click on your article or your blog, that kind of thing, where they go from there. Facebook has a whole new way that they're doing their insights that it used to be the insights were like 2 weeks off. Now they're about a week off. So you can kind of track how things are going with your insights there, how many people are looking at the page, how they're looking at what the demographics are, any possible information you want, how many times things have been clicked, that kind of thing. You can get really, really down into this data, and that can bog you down if you're just going on and on about it. Yeah.
If I were in the middle of something, just creating content, whatever, and got stuck, what's the best way to get help right then and there? Are there how-to books that you recommend? Is there a specific website that's really good for help? Is WordPress help useful?
WordPress help is useful, but in terms of like actually physically creating content, like are you talking about on the creative side of it or just the functional side of it? Because that's two things.
More on the functional side.
Google whatever your problem is, somebody on YouTube's already figured it out. And there's probably 8 videos. More than likely. I mean, and that's realistically it. Anything that you want to know, you can pretty much just Google it And it'll tell you right there. Now, it may not be the best way to do it, but it's a way to do it. And trial and error is really how I learned all this.
So how do you Google something like that? Give us an example of how that works.
Okay, it depends on what you're specifically looking for. Here's another little trick.
Give Thomas his problem.
What are you trying to fix?
Say a broken plugin on WordPress, or I can't get a WordPress form to load right or something.
Okay, then you would take whatever the title of the form is, right? And then the way that I always start with a Google search is putting the quotation marks around it. Because you put the quotation marks around it, it gives you just what you put in there. It's that exact terminology, right? So I get just those results. So I'll start looking out there, or I'll type in whatever the contact form is, broken plugin, and start looking through all that. And then if I can't find my answer right away, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not looking in the right place. I have the wrong terms. So I start looking for any errors that it's given me. That's usually the first place to start. If it's giving you an error, type that error in. You can pretty much find an answer for it. And that also works for Windows blue screens or anything else that you've got an issue with. Just type that error in, and you can find the answer pretty quickly. Any other questions? Did I answer your question?
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions about anything? Any of this? Cool. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you. And with 5 minutes to spare.
We were trying to get out of here by 7 o'clock, but if y'all have questions you want to stop by, he's here.
I'll be here.
As long as Mr. Ben lets us stay in the building. So,
Absolutely.
we have plenty of pizza left.
Eat the pizza.
I want to thank Ross. What a great job.
Thank you.
If y'all have any questions, please, and also we have some guests in here that potentially new members for Rotary. We have a brand new member right over there. We're glad to have her. She's going to be sworn in on Thursday, I think. So, but anyway, thank you for coming. Have a good time. Drive safe. Bye-bye.